In a quiet valley, surrounded by misty blue mountains, lived a young man named Ethan Clay. Ethan had dreams bigger than his little town could hold. He wanted to create something that would last forever, something people would remember him for. But Ethan had one problem. He never finished anything. He started painting, stopped after a week. Tried learning the flute, gave up after 2 days. Even when he helped at his father's pottery shop, he'd lose interest halfway through a pot. He wanted results fast. And when they didn't come, he moved on. One evening, frustrated after another failed attempt, Ethan sat near the river watching the sun melt into the horizon. That's when he met Master Rowan, an old potter who lived on the mountain. Everyone called him the Silent Maker because he rarely spoke. But his creations spoke for him. Rowan watched Ethan toss a lump of clay into the water and said calmly, "Do you think the river became smooth in a day?" Ethan frowned. "What do you mean?" Rowan smiled. "If you wish to shape the world, you must first learn to shape yourself every single day." He handed Ethan a small wooden wheel and said, "Make one pot every day for a year. Bring me the 365th one." Ethan laughed. "A year? That's too long." The old man simply replied, "Then your dreams are smaller than your patience." Reluctantly, Ethan began his task. Day 1, he sat at the wheel. His pot collapsed before it even formed. Day 2, the same. Day 3, his fingers hurt. By day 10, he wanted to quit, but Rowan's words echoed in his mind. "If you can't be patient with clay, how will you be patient with life?" So Ethan continued. Days turned into weeks. The pot still looked uneven, but his hands were changing. His movements became gentler. The wheel began to listen to him. Still, there were moments of doubt. Sometimes he'd wake up late and think, "What's the point?" Sometimes the clay would dry too fast or crack in the kiln, but each time he whispered to himself, "Just one more pot." And he kept going. By the 3rd month, something shifted. The pot started holding shape. His neighbors noticed his persistence. A few even laughed. "Ethan, still making pots no one buys." But he didn't answer. He had stopped caring about applause. Now it wasn't about perfection. It was about discipline. One cold winter morning, when snow dusted the rooftops, Ethan carried on with numb fingers. He had missed a meal, but not a single day of work. And slowly, without realizing it, he was transforming. His mornings became structured. His thoughts clearer. The same boy who once gave up on everything now woke before sunrise, not because someone told him to, but because he wanted to. By month 6, his little workshop was filled with hundreds of imperfect pots, cracked, lopsided, broken. Yet to Ethan, each one was sacred. Each one was proof that he had kept going when no one watched. One evening, Master Rowan visited. He looked at the shelves full of flawed pots and smiled. "They are not mistakes, Ethan," he said softly. "They are your teachers." Rowan picked up one of the earliest cracked pots and held it beside the latest one. "Do you see the difference?" Ethan nodded silently. "The world may only see the last pot." Rowan said, "But you must remember all the hands you became along the way." Spring came. Flowers bloomed. Birds returned. And so did Ethan's spirit. By the end of the year, on the 365th day, he created his final pot. It was simple, yet perfect, smooth, balanced, alive. He carried it up the mountain too. Master Rowan, the old potter, examined it and said, "You have done well. But tell me, Ethan, what have you learned?" Ethan looked at his hands, then at the mountain peak behind them. "I learned that mountains aren't climbed in leaps," he said slowly. "They're climbed one step at a time." Rowan smiled, his eyes shining. "The secret is not in the clay, Ethan. It's in your consistency. You kept showing up, even when nothing seemed to change. That's what shaped you." Ethan bowed deeply. Tears filled his eyes. not of sadness, but gratitude. He realized that the real masterpiece wasn't the pot he had made. It was himself. Years later, Ethan became known as the potter of the mountain. People from faraway lands came to buy his art, but whenever they asked for his secret, he never spoke of skill or tools or talent. He simply smiled and said, "Make one pot a day, even when no one's watching, even when you don't feel like it." That's how success and peace are built. Friends, success doesn't come from bursts of effort. It comes from showing up again and again, especially on the days you don't want to. Consistency doesn't shout. It whispers. But over time, those whispers build empires. Remember, even the mountain began as dust, and it rose only because it never stopped becoming.